Okay, so we're going to do, or I'm not going to write it all out, but section 1 or the essay. We'll give some talk about this. Um, so let's look at the prompt. Now, this little thing in the box, this quote, um, you don't necessarily need to respond to it, though it can be helpful. So I would suggest reading it. But really, what you're mostly interested in, as you may or may not know, is the assignment down here. And actually, the first question right after the assignment is the key. So here it says, do people accomplish more when they are allowed to do things in their own way? Plan and write an essay in which you develop your own point of view. Support your position with reasoning and examples taken from your reading, studies, experience, or observations. Okay, so few things. First, some general tips. I'm going to make more general videos about essays and how to approach them in a little bit. But for now, let me just give you the basic 4 tips you'll need to do well in the SAT essay. First, write as much as possible. In general, essays with more writing do better than those with less. 2, pick one side, so don't waffle. I know, in real life and in real good writing, showing both sides of an issue and showing the grays that are involved in any kind of issue is what it's all about. But here, you really want to make it black and white. Pick one side. Either for this example, either say yes, people accomplish more when they do things on their own, or no, people don't accomplish things when they do things in their own way. So you pick one side and stick to it, and don't even mention the other side. 3, use good examples. So obviously history examples. 2 to 3. 3 being better. Obviously history and lit are great. School subjects are also, any other school subjects you might be taking, science, math, law, psychology, whatever. Those work. But then you're really wide open, and what else you can use? You can use pop culture, your hobbies, current events, and then also personal experience and observations. And you'll see when we talk about this specific question some of the kinds of examples I might use if I were doing this essay. And finally, 4, when you can, use big words. Use them correctly. Don't use them if you don't know the proper definitions or if you're using them right, but try to spice in some big words, varied sentences, various sentence lengths and structures, just to make it less of a kind of boring reading. Alright, now for this specific choice, let's say we're going to argue either side. Now again, you could argue either. You want to pick one. You don't want to try to do both at the same time. But there's no right answer, it's just how well you support whichever side you pick. So let's talk first about, do people accomplish more when they are allowed to do things in their own way? So let's say I'm going to argue yes. Now, we could use their example. They use Watson and Crick. But we could use science in general, in inventors. So maybe, I don't know, think of an inventor that you like. I don't know, Thomas Edison, I don't know. Or any kind of scientist you may know of, that would be good. In terms of history, American Revolution maybe. Civil War, those are always pretty standard. You can imagine to twist it in one way or another. Civil rights movement. Let's see, what else? Personal experiences, obviously. Personal experience. If you've got any there, that might help. Books from English. I can't really think off the top of my head. I'm reading the Wheel of Time series, so you can use that, even though it's not, a English class kind of book. It's totally fine. Sports would be a good example too. Players can't do what they got to do. They got to follow the party line, and then when they're working as a team, they'll do better than if they went off and did their own thing. I mean, you can think of business as another example here. Really, anything honestly can fit under this. You want to try to pick 3 total. How about the no side? So this would be an example of where people. So wait a minute. I think. Yeah, this wouldn't really work for this. This would work better for here, right? Because here's an example of where people, if they do things their own way, they're going to screw up. In sports, you got to follow the coach's rules. You just can't do what you want on the field or the ice or whatever. You got to do what is within the team concept. So sports would be an example here. Scientists, again, in the sense that you kind of have to follow certain rules in science. You can't just go off and make different claims without kind of being part of the club. In a certain way. What else? I prepped some answers. I don't know what PE means. That's unfortunate. Oh, personal experiences, right. So any ones from those you might have. Education, right? You got to get educated. You got to learn the ways of the world before you can really become part of it. Over here, actually, you can even put education too. That, sometimes, as Mark Twain said, you don't want your schooling to get in the way of your education. I mean, like, look at, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, these kind of guys who didn't go the traditional route, but nonetheless were super successful, and probably were successful in part because they didn't do the traditional thing. Anything else? Can't think of anything off the top of my head. But anyway, yeah, so you pick one of the sides, and what I did now is a good exercise. When you're actually on test day, list out some examples for both sides, and then make your decision. In this case, I'd probably go with yes. Then make your decision as to which one you're going to argue, and then go ahead and write from there. Final point, you want to have the standard intro, body 1, body 2, and then, if you need it, if you're doing 3 examples, which is recommended, body 3, and then your conclusion. Right? And then you want to have transitions from each paragraph into the next one, so it's not just kind of an abrupt shift. And at the end of your intro, you want to have your thesis. And that's basically just where you can simply state something like, in this essay, I will argue that people do get more accomplished when they do their own work on their own way, or whatever. This is where you say, basically, that you yes or no, agree, disagree, and you can use I. I is totally fine. The reason why you might have been told not to use it in high school is because they don't want personal opinion coming into essays for English class. In this case, personal opinion is, in some sense, what counts. Obviously, you've got to support it with evidence, but having the I here is totally okay for the SAT essay.